welcome to episode 5 of Tortuga Gamecast. This is our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest video game news and give impressions on what we've been playing. I'm your host, Derek, and this week I am joined once again by Cam.
Hello again.
And we have a few different topics this week. I wanted to start out by talking about something that connects directly with what we spent a lot of time talking about last week, and that is the third-party situation on Nintendo Switch. And just briefly this week, we also got a statement from EA where they said that their future support for the Switch is going to be based on the success of FIFA 2018 or FIFA 18, which is coming out this year. So it's a lot like what Capcom was saying, where their future support was based on Street Fighter, and now it might be based on Monster Hunter as well, right? So kind of that idea that if this game does well, they'd love to support it more. EA says, we want to be part of the Switch, we want to bring games there and help Nintendo grow this install base, but this game better be successful. So what is your take on that? Just the general idea.
I don't really like that non-committal attitude of like putting it in the user's hands or in the consumer's hands of, you know.
It's like the ball's in your court.
Yeah, like if you want us to support the Switch, you have to spend your money now on this game that you may or may not be interested in.
Sure.
So we're gonna hold our better titles ransom.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. Now, FIFA is a huge title. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's one of the biggest third-party titles coming to Switch. There's no denying that. This is a title that worldwide has a big appeal, right? Soccer is huge across the world.
But the people that own the Switch right now are not casual gamers. They are the people that stood outside in lines and have managed to get their hands on a Switch. And
sure.
Typically, the casual gamer isn't. Typically, the FIFA stuff is more towards the casual gamer.
Well, it's that kind of gamer that they might put tons of hours in playing, but they pretty much play maybe a few sports games a year, or they play Call of Duty and FIFA. That's a big portion of their audience, certainly. So it remains to be seen. I mean, I think there's a chance that FIFA will do well. It's everything they've said for the most part sounds like this is a high-effort, strong port of FIFA 18. Not exactly the same as what's coming to PS4 and Xbox One. It won't have that journey mode where you play as their character, and it's kind of like the story mode. That's left out, but everything else is there. And I mean, there's no denying to me that this is the best portable FIFA ever. And I think that will appeal to some people. That is cool. You know, that has me interested a little bit. But my concern is EA is a huge publisher, and they hold some pretty important titles. Some people might think, well, EA, I don't really care about sports games, so not a big deal. If they decide not to support it, I won't miss them. And I get that, but it's not just the sports games. That's what people think of first, but also there's the huge factor that EA controls the Star Wars video game license, right? And they're talking about making all these different Star Wars games. And to me, Star Wars appeals a lot more to your typical Nintendo audience than a soccer simulation does. So I think it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, we'll see how it does. I was surprised by Street Fighter 2. You know, that did really well. Now, that's a game that was hugely popular on Nintendo consoles back in the day, so there is a nostalgia for it, but still a remake that was kind of overpriced, most people agreed, did really well. So there's hope that this could do well, but I'm just not sure. And you know, I think what Capcom's...
I hope this doesn't become the trend of, here's an okay title, if you want our further support, you have to purchase this.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, purchase this and we'll want to support the Switch more, but it still doesn't guarantee what. I mean, does supporting FIFA 18 and it doing really well mean, hey, we'll bring FIFA 19 to the Switch? Like, I don't think... So it's just one of those, like, okay, you know, great, but I don't know. It just doesn't really feel good to me. It doesn't feel right. I wish that it was more, hey, we see how well the Switch is doing, because it is. It's undeniable that out of the gate it's been doing incredibly well, and we want to get in on that and help it keep momentum and take advantage of the situation where people are clearly buying games on this console. There's a desire, right? And it's not only Nintendo games. Yes, we've heard great stories of how ARMS is sold and Splatoon is sold and Zelda, but like we said, Street Fighter and a lot of indie games and things, we're hearing great things about the sales on those too. So clearly, there's an opportunity. I think it's getting old here, and we'll see how it does.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't feel like this, talking about PlayStation or Xbox, or, you know, they wouldn't do the same thing.
They would not. I agree.
So I just feel like, you know, Nintendo has to overperform in order to be able to get similar support.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that is Nintendo's fault. I will be the first to admit that kind of idea was formed during the Wii and Wii U time periods where the Wii was incredibly successful, but it was such a different console that's not where people wanted to play these sports games, and that kind of started to hurt the relationship. Then the Wii U struggles really pushed some of these third parties away. So I think they're just tentative to jump back in, and it's unfortunate. And I mean, I get it. these are highly expensive ports. Even to port a game over to another console is going to cost these companies a lot of money. They want to make sure that they can make money. Hopefully it goes well, and we'll hear in a few months after it's released, sometime in the new year, that EA is really happy with the sales on Switch and they're going to do more, but remains to be seen. It's just unfortunate that we're hearing this excuse from several companies now. I was kind of annoyed by it with Capcom.
Well, I know, but now that one has done it, now that two has done it,
yeah, and
this is just going to be the pattern.
I think it's business as usual. They may not come out and say it all the time, but I think that's how things work. You're not going to support a console if you're not making money off of it. These companies are in business to make money, but just being so open about it, it's like, I hate to say it, but I do tend to feel like they're doing it to think, well, this might win some more people over. There are some really passionate fans of the Switch, and maybe they'll buy our game now just because we throw this out there.
Yeah, just because we put that, because we dangle it.
Yeah.
We dangle the carrot, and now we're hoping that people will invest because we're promising so much more if you buy this game.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. Now, we'll see. But I did think that was definitely worth mentioning because it's just like what we talked about last week, just another company kind of treating it the same way. Hey, we're supporting right now, but we'll see what happens. To not trying to prove themselves. I wish the attitude was we're going to put out an awesome game and people are going to hear about it and they will come buy it. That's how it should be. That's the traditional. That's what you do. That's how you're successful. Not, hey, buy this if you want something else. So hopefully that will change.
It's like a deposit on a future game, and
yeah.
I like that way of thinking.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, if you're someone who's thinking about this and thinks, well, I really want EA support in the future, my recommendation is just see what happens. If you want FIFA for Switch, get it, but don't go out and buy it just because you're like, I want other EA games. Don't buy something you don't want. That's it's not practical at all. Buy what you want, and what they're going to bring to the Switch is going to come to the Switch either way. Your one copy is not going to make a difference. So I would really recommend not feeling guilted by this or being pressured just for that. If you want the game, awesome. I do think it looks good.
They want to play chicken, we can play it too.
Yeah, the impressions I've heard of people getting their hands on with FIFA and things they've said on Switch say it's awesome. It's really cool. So that's great. If you are interested in soccer, go for it. But don't buy it for any other reason. That's silly. It's nonsense. Games are too expensive to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the thought that a company as big as them would put that idea in your head, like plant that seed, is...
It's nonsense. It really is. So maybe on to a more positive story then next. I want to talk about Sonic Mania. We are, interestingly enough, recording this on the eve of Sonic Mania. It comes out tomorrow, right? And there's a lot of talk and chatter going around about this game right now. I'm sure by the time this podcast is out, I'll probably have gotten my hands on it now, and next week I'll have a lot to say about it. Looking forward to it. The cool thing, which has become a rare story for Sonic, is reviews hit today, and they're incredibly positive. 8s and 9s across the board. Maybe some 7s and 7.5s, but a lot of it's high 8s and 9s from major sites, right? I think, to quote IGN, they're the big one. It's 8.7 from IGN. Very solid score. This is a game that comes in at a really fair deal, $19.99. A cool story behind it. Sega's going back to the classic Sonic, if you're not aware.
Yeah, they definitely took a back to the drawing board approach.
Absolutely. You would, if you just saw a couple minutes of footage, you would not be able to tell it different if you didn't know better from Sonic and Knuckles on the Sega Genesis. It looks exactly like that. The 16-bit style, which is iconic for Sonic. It looks great still to me today. It's more polished and things, but it looks just like it, really. And they brought in some people from the community who have made Sonic fan games and become known and got their input, and they got to actually help work on this game. So it's a really cool story that, hey, in the end, it turned out awesome. People are really enjoying it. Now, I'm excited. I can't wait to get my hands on it and try it out. It's composed of both remixed old levels and some brand new ones. It's 8 old worlds that they reimagined and changed things, made them more modern, added new ideas to, and then 4 completely new worlds as well. New bosses and things in there. So plenty to get your hands on. It seems, from everything I'm hearing, to be a ton of fun, challenging, everything that people wanted, pretty much. So that's awesome. Now,
good job.
Yeah, great. Congratulations on that. I think it's going to be very successful. There's so much. You can kind of tell with these kind of things before they happen. There's a lot of
maybe
online
this will be
hype.
something that they begin to do more, is, you bring in a fan. People that grew up playing the game, love playing the game. You get that,
Maybe, yeah. It's interesting. I think Sonic has been in a really weird place. Back in the day, it really did compete with Mario, and people held it on really high regard, and that's just not the case anymore. It's been a long time since Sonic has really been successful in hitting that high road. It's been mixed reviews at best for a while now, really, since the 3D era. It's no secret, right? Everybody talks about that all the time with Sonic, that it just never adapted well, and maybe the idea behind Sonic of going really quickly through levels and darting and dashing, maybe it just doesn't work as well in 3D as it did 2D. That's what it seems so far. Sega has never figured it out in 3D. So it's cool to see them go back Now, I am kind of a little on the fence about it, though. I'm super excited for Sonic Mania, and Sega said that how this does, they'll kind of determine what they want to do with Sonic going forward. But that, as exciting as I can see that being, it kind of scares me also, because
I don't want to be stuck in this pattern of we're revisiting and rehashing the original ideas and not,
forever.
Yeah, not advancing.
I'm cool with Sonic Mania here. I think it'd be even awesome if it maybe a couple years down the road we got a Sonic Mania 2 that was, hey, this is just 12 brand new worlds completely, and it still looks retro. Cool. But then after that, I don't know how much more of it I would want looking just like this. I would think they need to advance the visuals. I don't want Sega Genesis visuals forever, right? Or that at least based on the 16-bit pixels. They can make new, art for it and still keep it 2D and keep the controls and the style of the game traditional, but at least kind of bring it up more to modern day. I would hope. I don't want them to think classic is the only thing that's going to work and we're just going to stick with that forever. It is
I think
awesome
for now. Yeah, it's a good formula for now to kind of restart, back to the drawing board, hit the fresh start, and then...
And the sprites are perfect for this kind of game, a 2D game, but you can make newer sprites as well eventually, right? If this does kick off and people start to be more interested in Sonic, build on it, but don't get stuck in your roots where eventually people are going to say, oh yeah, Sonic's that game that looks old. Because for me, someone who played it as a kid, I am perfectly excited. Don't get me wrong. I can't wait to get my hands on Sonic Mania. It looks awesome, but when I think about the younger generation, they're not going to look at this and think, oh, that's cool, it looks like old Sonic. They're going to think it looks kind of old.
It's nostalgic for the older generation, and so you don't mind the way that it looks.
Sure.
It still looks good again, but it does look retro.
Yeah.
The younger generation, this moving forward and continuing to be a relevant title, is going to have to stay up to date.
Stay with the times. Yeah. And I think I said, it works for now, but I think they can build on it, I hope, in the future, because I think this is going to be really successful. I would not be surprised if this outsells Sonic Forces later this year. Now, sales, I think, will go either way. I'm pretty confident, unfortunately, already from previews and things I've heard on each game, that it seems like Sonic Mania is probably going to be the better received game critically. Reviews, it's been a lot more positive in previews. Now the reviews are really strong, and everything I've heard out of Forces is very mixed at best, where, okay, a lot of them say the 2D stuff feels pretty good. The 3D is what you expect from Sonic. It doesn't really, you just kind of flying through and barely have control. And then the new character, while you make your own and design it, everything I've heard on that has been pretty negative overall. People don't really like it. So that's unfortunate. To me, the modern Sonic style in it, the 2D but looking modern and updated visuals is cool. I wish they would just focus on the 2D Sonic. I mean, I've been having that complaint for forever. It just doesn't feel right in 3D, so stick with what does and just an updated 2D Sonic. Like Sonic Colors was pretty good on the DS. I liked that one. That's probably the best it's been in a while, in my opinion. Now excited for Sonic Mania, but we'll see where this goes in the future. They said they were determined based on how these games sell. I think even Sonic Forces will sell. It comes out in the holiday time. Parents will pick that up. It's going to do pretty well commercially, I think, either way. Maybe not great, but at least okay. So we'll see what Sega thinks in the end. I mean, how much are they going to rely on critic reception? I do think that Sonic Mania is going to start generating some buzz really when it hits tomorrow, and it already is with the reviews. I think it's going to sell pretty well. So it's the question of will the younger crowd jump in or not. I'm not sure, but I think that people that played Sonic growing up can't wait. You hear that pretty commonly.
And so affordable.
Yeah, it's a great deal. $19.99, it feels good, It's not an incredibly long game, but it is Sonic. The way the levels are designed, it's all about multiple paths. You can go through each level so many different ways, so it really encourages you to replay anyways. So it's awesome. It's perfect. That's what I would want from a Sonic game anyways. It's about speedrunning, finding the best path, where the secrets are. It's what you expect. I love that you can play as Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles. Growing up as a kid, for some reason, I just always wanted to play as Tails or Knuckles over Sonic. I don't know. I never wanted... there was another option. It was cool. I want to play as someone else. And now I'm kind of I'm probably going to play as Sonic at first because I want to. It's weird that shifts, I guess, for me. But still excited to try out Knuckles in particular. I've always liked his ability to climb walls and glide that Sonic doesn't have. It's pretty cool. It always felt a little tougher to me. But looking forward to that. Something I'll definitely talk about with impressions next week, and hopefully we'll hear some news about early sales, and we can discuss how that goes as well. I'm imagining it's going to do well, and I think Sega's going to be proud of it, so I think we will hear some things pretty quickly. In the first couple of weeks, I imagine we'll hear about sales with that one. So looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good story to tell. Really excited for those developers that got a chance to work on it. I mean, imagine getting to work on a game that you love, you're that passionate about, and then Sega brings you in to work on it. I mean, that's unheard of. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's incredibly unprecedented.
Yeah, so...
And for it to already be so successful, I mean, good job.
Yeah, awesome story. All around there for sure. All right, and the next story that I wanted to give a second to talk about is that the Final Fantasy 15 Prompto VR experience, Square Enix has announced that it's just not going to be released. Now, this is interesting to me because this was shown off at E3 2016, and it was a playable game at that point. It was already in playable state. Different press sites got to play it. They gave impressions on it. They were mixed, right? That it was a lot of them said it was cool and the world looked really good in VR. It was very pretty for a VR experience, but that it was limited, right? But I think that was acceptable because this was something that Square Enix had said, hey, if you bought Final Fantasy 15, this is free. It's going to be free. They had announced that it was coming out. This was not something that they just showed off as an idea, which is what they're kind of spinning it as now. Like, hey, we never said for sure we were going to release this. It's just, it was a concept, but that's not what it was at the time.
They're backpedaling.
Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, if it was playable that long ago, it was pretty far along. I mean, they may have had more work to do on it, but it had to have been close, right? I mean, a lot of it was done, and it wasn't going to be incredibly long because it was a free experience. I wonder when they
actually stopped before they decided that they were going to announce that it wasn't coming out.
Yeah,
like, how long have they known?
And the excuse they're using is that for Final Fantasy 15, they've been doing DLC for all of your side characters. Outside of the main, the other members of your party, the other 3 characters are all getting DLC that explore their background and their story a little bit more. And they're saying, well, Prompto's already getting normal DLC, so it would be way too much. I mean, they said, their exact quote is, can you imagine getting normal Prompto DLC and Prompto VR DLC? Like, that's just way too much. To me, I mean, they're not the same at all. There is no such thing
as too much DLC.
I mean, they're not the same at all. One is something you would purchase and decide to add on. One is something that was free in a VR experience. So I think that's kind of silly. But it's unfortunate. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you're getting the Final Fantasy Fishing Monster of the Deep, I think, or something along those lines, for PSVR still. That's true. And that's cool for people that are excited about it, but that's very different than the action that they showed off in this game. And, it was very Square Enix at the time. Like, they also showed, like, riding in the car with the girl and, like...
Yeah, don't try to act like a fishing game is the same.
Yeah. No, and don't get me wrong.
You're getting gypped.
Fishing can often be fun in video games, and I'm sure there will be some enjoyment from it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be okay, but compared to...
It's not the same. The fishing's going to be a shallow experience. It's a VR experience also. So we'll see, but I don't see it as, hey, we're not getting that, but we're getting fishing and everything's all good. To me, they went with something much simpler, less risky on VR, something they could kind of put together. It's not as wide of a concept because the situation with VR is not good. This is writing on the wall, and I know I've said it before, and I know this would upset some people who have invested in VR, but to me...
I'm upset for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The people that invested in VR, I'm upset for them. They bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah,
they sold a product that wasn't ready yet.
It's not quite ready, and it's just kind of something that we've seen with Sony. They've supported their main console so well. There's no denying the PS4 has been the dominant console of this generation. There's no denying it. It's been supported so widely. They've done a really good job with it. The messaging behind it, everything. Sony's fully behind it, but you look at the Vita. They supported it very briefly, and then not.
They started to do the same things, where they would promise titles were going to come out on the Vita, and then they just never came out.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not all Sony, I get it, and this is Square Enix, but it's the same story, right? Where Sony hasn't really done much for VR, and Sony didn't really do much for Vita. Once it kind of didn't take off, they stopped supporting it, and it's been just indie support for a while, and some people say, there's plenty coming to Vita still. It's indie titles and small kind of little titles from Japan. There's nothing major that's come to the Vita for a while. A lot of people have considered it dead for a long time. I think that might be harsh. I get it. But Sony stopped talking about the Vita. They stopped supporting it. I'm worrying that they're doing the same thing to VR. This year at E3, I was proud. They came out and they talked about VR. They gave some time to it, but what they showed off was indie titles for the most part. And I just worry that it's going to slowly trickle less and less for VR. That's what I see happening. I think it'll still come out to their E3 next year, and they'll have some indie things and maybe small experiences, but nothing big. Resident Evil was by far the biggest thing we saw in VR, and I'm worried that that's not going to be matched again. There are some cool experiences. Super Hot just came to PSVR.
Not with this news of Square Enix not supporting and not coming out with the game. There's not somebody else that's going to invest in it.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I think the writing on the wall is unfortunate. I do think this is becoming kind of like some other Sony peripherals in the past, like the Move that they put out to try to compete with the Wii, and it didn't take off right away, and they kind of stopped supporting it. The Vita, they did the same thing with. I am worried that they are doing the same thing to VR. I mean, what message are you telling people? The hardcore Sony fans went out and bought VR. They sold 1 million VR headsets. Great. But who's buying it now? That's what we're not hearing about. We haven't heard numbers about VR in a while, and I'm not seeing that happen anytime soon. right? Just where like they stopped reporting Vita sales numbers after a while. They just stopped. Not going to talk about it because there's not much to say. How are you going to convince a non-hardcore Sony fan to go out and buy a VR? It's an expensive unit to go out there and...
Extremely expensive.
What's the future promise? Not much. It's more expensive than the PS4. So it's an expensive peripheral, and the future promise is just not there. I mean, I am someone who has had... In my life, I own PS1, I own PS2, I own PS3, I own PS4. Every one of their consoles, and there is no fiber of my being that is considering buying the VR.
No, not
just
even
being honest,
before.
it's just not...
This was before, when never. Even when it was first being shown off and it looked extremely promising, there was no part of either one of us that was like, yeah, I want to get that, yeah.
At the time, I said it would really have to take off. I would have to start seeing some major things coming exclusively to VR for me to want it. Even like Resident Evil being there as an option, that's not enough for me because I'm not that pulled in by the idea of VR. There would have to be exclusive games I can only play there. That's how you convince people to come to a new platform, which... Yes, this is powered by your PS4, but this is a new platform. It's a separate thing, right? And I just don't think it's happening. A lot of the games that you can play on there that are the best games on VR, now you're starting to hear the story of, well, they're also playable without VR. Maybe not as good, but they're still playable. So all of those are just not a good sign.
No.
Yeah, and I think
it's a shame. It's a shame to everybody that invested in it.
Yeah, I know people that will take it the wrong way, but I'm just saying right now the situation doesn't look good. I would be surprised if it turns around. That just doesn't look good right now. So we'll see, but...
I hope that I genuinely want it to, because I want the people that invested in it to get what they paid for.
And the core idea of VR is cool. More immersive games. When you think about it, that's the main way that video game could take the next step of being so much more immersive, because it puts you in it. But I just don't know if it's there yet, and the companies are not willing to take the risks. Same situation we hear with people being hesitant on the Switch, which has sold as much as it has. If they're hesitant there... Yeah, they're going to be hesitant with VR.
Absolutely.
Yeah, way more so. There's so much investment that goes into that. The development is so new. The cost is heavy to develop for VR. That's what people kind of don't understand or don't really focus on enough, I think, is how big of an investment
this is.
When you're
trailblazing like that, it costs a lot of money.
Absolutely. Yeah, this technology is different. So it's not even the same as making a normal indie game. For these devs that do it, it's a big investment. There's a risk there. So... I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be rough roads ahead for VR, I still think. It just hasn't taken off the way that people hoped it would. There's no denying that for me. It has not. Then the last story I have is another one that's kind of, for me, silly. It's negative. I think it's unfortunate what happened now. There's both sides to a story, but we're looking at professional soccer player, or former professional soccer player, Edgar Davids, has sued Riot Games for using his likeness in their games. And this goes back for a while ago. This skin came out. This is a skin for one of the games in League of Legends, or one of the characters in League of Legends, Lucian. And it's a soccer skin. They put out 4 or 5 soccer skins at the time. This is back when I played League, and I had this skin, actually. I do have it, so it's like more interesting now, I guess. But they made a lot of the characters look like soccer players to celebrate the World Cup and that excitement. And people, they were like a limited time thing. You can't get it now. But people would have bought it. You could pay real money on League to get the skins. It's not like Overwatch where you just hope for it in a loot box. You can just buy it straight up. So this is a skin that came out there, and it does kind of look like him. I'm not going to deny that, right? And even the unfortunate thing is we've heard this situation before where people have tried to sue video game companies for using their likeness, and most of the time you hear, well, it didn't end up happening. The lawsuit gets dropped because they're not going to sue.
Yeah, as it should be, in my opinion.
Most of the time that's what happens. Now, unfortunately, Riot Games is they push being very open with their community and talking about things, and I think it's a great thing. They have a lot of respect from the video game company, the video game followers, their gamers, their players, because they are very open. They talk about patches and talk about what they're thinking and what they want to do.
Yeah, there's a big relationship there.
Yeah, they've
between
established
them
that.
And their community.
Yeah, and it kind of, as much good as that's done them, it kind of came back to bite them here, because now they, in a QA, answered that, yeah, actually, for those people who've been asking, that Lucian skin was inspired by Edgar Davids. And that's what came back to bite them in court, because they had said it. And now that's been removed, everything. Yeah.
Can we just pause for a second? Because that is how creativity works. Yeah. You're inspired by the things that are around you, especially when you are making this specially themed package of skins. You're going to look at the people that play soccer.
Certainly.
And you're going to be... That's how creativity works.
Yeah.
You walk around and you're inspired by the things that you see.
Certainly.
Not by things that you dream up that are completely 100% original. No, it's like everything's a spin-off of something else. It's how you bend it, which makes it yours.
If you look across some major video games, there's no denying that some of their characters are based on real people.
Yes!
It's absolutely true, but now...
And they should be flattered, and that's it.
You would think. I mean, but maybe our perspective is just very different on it. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe someone w's not into video gaming at all could just see it as harming their reputation. I don't know.
I didn't know who this guy was.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit butthurt about that. So he decided to make sure people knew who he was. He was going to suit somebody, which is unfortunate. I mean, this is obviously for a different podcast, probably, but this is the unfortunate pattern that happens right now.
Yeah.
Is, just a crybaby attitude of, I'm going to sue and get my feelings hurt over everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there is something to be said. If your likeness was put in a video game where they used your name and something negative, truly negative was happening with your character, like some of the times, like things that South Park does.
Yeah, like
I could see people getting upset.
Like if you were the main villain in Far Cry.
Yeah, and you're killing me. Right? Yeah, of course.
I would be upset about that.
There are reasons these laws exist, but for this, it's nothing. I mean, it's a skin that people can choose to use for their character. It doesn't change anything about the character, except that he looks different in the game a little bit. He's wearing a soccer uniform. League of Legends, if you haven't played it, is really zoomed out, isometric, top-down view. It is not about high-powered graphics and super details.
There's no personality.
Well,
for the characters and those, like, there's nothing that they really say or do that.
Yeah, they have a lot of lore and backstory, but if you don't look for it,
exactly.
You can know
if you're just playing the game,
it's
not like they have attitude and stuff in the game. It's
yeah,
just
they have some one-liners and things they say as they fight, but it's nothing that would outwardly make a character portray as negative. I agree with that. Now, there's a ton of lore, I know, and some people will say there's plenty of story to these characters. Yes, Riot does do all that.
I mean, you know, as you're playing it.
But as a gameplay perspective, no, it's you're fighting against other champions to take their base. Every character does the same goal in that game. No, they're not different on a surface level. Now, he sued, and, the exact quotes were that they copied his skin color, his hair, his muscular posture, his aggressive play style, and his well-known sports goggles and glasses that he wears, which...
I'll give him that.
When you see the pictures, they did. Yeah. I mean, Riot admits it too. They did. Right?
The goggles were obviously something that they thought was cool enough to add to it, and they were trying to pay homage a little bit to somebody who actually plays soccer. I mean, I totally understand.
There's so much that could have happened.
This didn't have to be negative.
Yeah.
And now it is.
Yeah. To me, there's so much that could have happened. Lucian in this game has hair similar to this guy, long dreadlocks and things, so they probably just looked for a soccer player like that, and it just worked well. To me, that could have been what happened. They just used it because it already made sense.
Yeah, it was like, goggles. Yeah, I thought it looked cool.
That's a cool aspect. Yeah, it gave them more personality, and they were into it. It's unfortunate that I think something from Riot that was just done positively because they thought this was a cool look has turned so negative. And now what you're hearing is they're being required by the court to come forward and present how much money they made off of this skin, which I'm sure is plenty because Riot Games breaks it in on League of Legends, a free-to-play game where you can choose to buy heroes you haven't unlocked yet or buy skins, and people buy them in droves. It's very clear, right? They make tons of money, one of the most successful video game companies, so I don't think this is going to sink them, but it definitely comes down to this guy is making the argument that if they're going to use his likeness, he should make money from it, and the court is agreeing, so they're going to give a portion of what they made to him. Now, where you fall on that, okay, but I just think the whole thing is so much blown.
Yeah, obviously this is my own personal opinion of being just totally against what this guy has taken something that could be so positive and so flattering and made it such a negative thing. And I don't want this to set the tone.
Yeah, you wonder where it's going to go forward.
Because there are probably a dozen games that I could name right now where I am 98% sure that the person that is playing... You can see
some likeness.
Yes.
Yeah.
that go a lot farther than goggles.
Yeah, so me it's... We'll see what happens going forward. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. I think it's just going to be, if you are working for one of these video game companies that's going to be very stressed, you better never say anything publicly what this is based on, because that's what got them. It's not that it looks like, it's
harmless.
That they said it. Yeah,
completely
that's
harmless.
The big thing. So we're just going to get what a lot of people complain about is how hushed and closed-lipped video game companies are about everything they're doing. It's just going to be even more so now. Yeah. Maybe Riot probably won't change as much as you would think, but a lot of other companies who are tight-lipped, like Nintendo, they're going to see this as, hey, you better be even more careful. Right? This is why they're careful to begin with. People always question why they don't talk about things or they're not open. This is why. Because there's money on the line. These are companies. There's always money on the line. All right. So I do think it's unfortunate. We'll see, what happens with it, but they've already decided that there's going to be some kind of compensation So maybe if we hear the number, we'll bring it back up. It'll probably just be something brief. I don't want to give too much attention to it because I kind of feel like it's just unfortunate in the end. Okay, and then as always, I want to finish up with our what we've been playing, talk about impressions and things like that. For me, it's been a lot of continuing what I was already playing before. I've been playing some very long games. It's a unique thing for me. Not too many times in my life have I played like long game after long game after long game.
This is really unusual.
Yeah, so I played, obviously, Breath of the Wild, put 120 hours into that game and loved every minute of it. And then I moved on to Persona 5, and now I've beaten the final boss of Persona 5, but I'm still wrapping up loose ends and doing some other things in the game. It's not quite over. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but as a lot of RPGs go, there's plenty to do. Now, I'm not saying that I feel like it's dragging on. I've loved it. And I'm over 100 hours now in Persona as well. I think about like 102 hours, and it's been amazing. I never thought that after playing Breath of the Wild, there was going to be like real, true competition for me on a game of year kind of discussion, and Persona 5 is that good. Like, I've loved it. So that's
There have
awesome.
been several times the last couple of weeks where you've sat down and said, "Oh, I'm gonna finish it tonight," and then you get your drink and you get your chair and okay, good night. I'll see you tomorrow because it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so much more than you could expect. There's been times where I thought I was that close, and then it just keeps going and keeps going. But I'm not. It's not a complaint. Let me stress. I love every minute of it. Once it is over, I'll be bummed.
You would not be I know you personally, so I know that you would not be doing it so thoroughly if you weren't enjoying every second.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend time on something if I don't think it's worth it, video game wise. I can drop if I'm not someone who has to finish just to finish. But Persona 5 is worth finishing. A lot of people are hesitant about games that take that much of a time commitment or take that long to play, but I could not recommend Breath of the Wild or Persona 5 enough. They are worth it. If you can find the time, and even if it's the only game you play for months, it's worth it. All right, those are some great games. We are lucky. I feel lucky to have played them this year. Such high quality. It's awesome. Exceptional, really. I've also been playing more Disgaea 5, so another incredibly long game. I know people play this game for 200 hours sometimes. I don't know if I'll get to that point because it's one of those games where you can beat it and then there's so much post-game content. It just depends how far you go with that. And I don't know. I haven't beaten it yet, so we'll see. But I'm about 20 hours into it, and I still have enjoyed it so much on the Switch. It's perfect for on-the-go portable. When I'm out and I don't have internet connection, so I can't really go to Splatoon or ARMS that much right now, that's the game is my go-to because you can play for 20 minutes and accomplish some things. And I really enjoy that about it. It's awesome. The sleep mode on Switch has come in handy so many times because some of the missions can be pretty long. You just don't know. Some of them take 10 minutes, some of them take 30, so I'll just put it to sleep and finish it later if I need to. So that's been awesome as well. Again, I said this last time, but if you are someone who enjoys these really deep RPGs and all the systems that come with them, Disgaea is super worth it as well, right? But if you are someone who doesn't want all that depth and have to learn so many different complex systems in a game, it's a no, right? This is very deep. This is an RPG to the fullest, right? There is so much that you can do in this game, but the characters and things make it super worth it. It makes you want to progress the story. They are funny. It's lighthearted, but there's a story behind it as well. And then another one, we brought up before, is Kumiko, and I actually played through it. You were playing as the sword character, and I played through as the archer, and I beat it. This is something that I played a little bit on the plane when we went to Alaska, and a little bit here and there, just kind of filling in time when I don't have a lot. Also, it's another game I can just turn on and play for a little bit, and I beat it, and it's great. Like we said, for such a cheap game, I do want to probably go back and play as the other characters eventually as well, because you have your save file, and it shows like a little crown next to the character you finished it with, but the other two characters don't have it, and that I kind of do want to get, because they do play differently.
Yeah, a sense of completion.
Yeah, and it's short enough to where it seems worth it. I mean, my end playthrough is like 4 hours or so. It's not very long. I don't know exactly, but it's not incredibly time consuming, so it's definitely doable. The bosses, especially the last two bosses in the game, I thought were awesome. Right, they get more and more complex, and there's a little bit of challenge there, and it's cool. It mixes things up. So definitely, if you like that traditional A Link to the Past style top-down kind of puzzle action game, Kumiko is worth checking out on the Switch. We both enjoyed our time with Kumiko.
Absolutely.
Really fun. It's something I'll keep coming back to. That's an indie game that has felt super worth it to me. And then the other stuff I think for us is 3DS again. My 3DS and your 2DS. We've been playing those. I know you've been excited about the new console, wanting to play on that.
Yeah, because it's new, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just one of those things. I know a lot of people are like, I'm done with 3DS, I'm moving on to Switch. It's just, I'm not at that point yet. I have a backlog of some games I'm really excited to play on 3DS. I'm looking forward to several that are coming up. I mean, Metroid and Monster Hunter Stories I want to play. I know next year I'm going to want to pick up that Sushi Striker. That looks fun to me. Yeah, so there's plenty for 3DS. Game. I'm not done with that little console. It's one of my favorite of all time, I can say confidently. But we've been playing more Miitopia.
Yeah.
Yeah, a huge curveball in that game. I
Right?
don't want to get into spoilers
Exactly,
of how it happens or anything like that, but you will have an opportunity, like you've made your party, and you will eventually have an opportunity to change things up, or well, not even an opportunity. You're gonna have to change things up.
Yeah,
right?
no,
so it almost was like a gut
force.
punch for a minute. Like, man, I invested in these party members.
Exactly.
And
I used up all my creative juice already, you know, and to have to like scrape together some
scanning
more.
my amiibo and using all those roulette tokens on these characters, and then it's just what, you know?
Yeah.
But
I didn't go ham on the amiibo like you did.
I know.
I like rationed. I rationed
might
the
be
amiibo.
the way to go.
Yeah, I rationed the amiibo extra help there, the amiibo tokens, and but there's probably still, I would say.
Oh, you have so many left.
Oh yeah, like 90%.
Yeah, which
of
is
the
probably
amiibo
about
left,
90 amiibo
gotcha.
from our collection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are plenty here. We have most of them.
So I've got plenty of tokens. You are broke.
I've got some. I got my corn player 2 recently. I could figure it out. But I would recommend maybe invest in your main character for the most part, because it might be the most worth it. All right, but we'll see. We have not finished it. I don't know where it's going to go, but still enjoying it. That was a gut punch for a minute, but I've moved on.
It was.
And I'm still really enjoying it. You know, there's a lot more depth to this game than I expected. I've seen that, and this is about a 40-hour game in the end, is now what I'm hearing. Because after it went longer than I expected, I kind of just checked. I'll check how long something is without looking at the spoilers at all. There's that how long to beat site, and it'll just give you an hour, average hours for people. And I like to see it sometimes, just to kind of know what I'm getting into. So I think this is cool. It's a good value, a game that still is charming and fun, and I've enjoyed my time through to this point.
we're gonna finish it. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
100%.
And then the other one, which I'm sure this is something we're going to keep talking about for some weeks to come, because this is something that you, James, and I have got to do together. A little bit of a throwback, an older game for 3DS. Triforce.
Well, it was the first time that I know I've actually had the opportunity since it came out to play with 2 other people.
Yeah,
where you could
really.
play the local.
What sparked this is you got a 2DS, and we were like, now we have 3 people. We need to play some Triforce Heroes, right? So a lot of you probably know what that is. This is a 3DS Zelda game that is made to be 3-player. Right, that's the whole crux of it. You play together and solve puzzles together and fight together, and you can pick each other up and throw each other to solve puzzles, and you have different items, and there's a lot that goes into it. And the whole big purpose behind it is you run levels and then do them again and again, maybe, so that you can get different items to unlock all these different cool outfits in the game. It's fun. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where we're working together and actually we're talking and sitting in a room, strategizing, enjoying it, and then still goofing off too, especially James and I. You know, there's always that threat of I might pick you up and throw you off the cliff just because.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Don't do that to me. I'm too sensitive.
I don't do it to you. I'm not making that mistake. James did it once, and I was like, James. But, you know, I'm not making that mistake. I know better. But much like Mario 3D World, you can sabotage or help. That is your call. You know, Nintendo does definitely seem to enjoy that kind of local co-op madness, and they love to create that situation.
They do, yeah. Create that chaos.
Yeah, so awesome fun. This is a game that I played when it came out, and I didn't actually play all the way through, which is incredibly rare for a Zelda game for me. And it's because I was playing it online with random people. I didn't have a way to voice chat, and it kind of felt like a bummer to me because I know I ended up jumping in, I think, a week or 2 late to this game compared to a lot of people. And so when I would get on and play, they already knew how to do every puzzle. They were just rerunning levels to get items. So
what a bummer!
It's like they were rushing me through it, and I didn't get to think about anything. They'd be like going over to what the things to do and doing them on their own, or being like, over here, come do this. And it just was like, I'm just running around with these people, and it took a lot away from me. You know, so I'm really glad that I didn't.
That'll definitely take the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't force it, and I waited all this time. And now playing with you guys, it is awesome. So if you have a group of friends,
playing with. You and James are relatively normal players, but I take 100 years to do everything in the game. So
well, sometimes you're the one rushing us along, though. I'll be like, "Let's pick up these extra rupees," and you're like, "Come on, let's go." You know, so we get the balance. But
because I use that trigger thing, so I'm like way up the top.
The sprint. Yeah, you love that. I noticed you love that sprint. But it's been plenty of fun. It is a game you can play solo, and I did that for a little bit as well. It's just not quite the same. You can tell this game was designed to have fun with others, so I would recommend it. Super highly.
I love that Nintendo does that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't want to repeat myself all the time, but they have the social aspect that they bring to their games it's unreal how they manage to do that.
Well, it's unmatched on a local co-op level. Now, Nintendo has their huge problems when it comes to online play. The lack of voice chat, and how they limit things, and they're worried about everyone's, safety and what they're going to hear. It does.
Yeah,
cause
I completely,
problems.
and I almost like that though, because if you played any online game, Xbox or PlayStation, I mean, some of the stuff you hear online it's rough.
Of course. But for me, that is something that put parental controls in, so if parents want to stop their kids from hearing it, they can put it behind a passcode.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree.
But the option should be there. It's hard to come from, like, where we were so hardcore on Overwatch on Xbox for a long time, and how easy it is to chat on there for me to go over and play Splatoon, where it's like a workaround to talk with anyone.
Yeah.
And Splatoon, I mean, imagine what
I
you can accomplish if you're working with your team.
the local, like, couch co-op and stuff like that.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Yes, they struggle online, but the local, they are unmatched.
Because if you're people like me and you who are surrounded by people who love to play video games, there's no shortage of local people to play with for us.
Yeah.
It's one more thing you can do when you're hanging out.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We bring our Nintendo consoles to people's houses and we play local games, whether it's Mario Party or Nintendo Land was huge on the Wii U. We played that for the whole life of the Wii U. I think it's something we'll still probably bust out sometimes, because that was a game that I could get my parents to play who don't care about video games, but they can play some of those Nintendo Land games and have a lot of fun. So Nintendo was great about that. Something I definitely think they're strong on, and we see that with Triforce Heroes. I was saying I would definitely recommend this if you have two people with 3DSs that you can play with locally. The really cool thing about it that I do want to mention, if you're not aware, is this is a game that I own, James owns, but we didn't have another copy of it for Cam. And it was one of those Nintendo games that they often did on DS and sometimes on 3DS, where you had the local download play. So James and I put our games in, I turned Cam's 3DS on and did download play option, and she just got to play with us without owning it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want those rupees, by the way.
Yeah, well, we found out that the rupees are... At first, we're like, can't pick up the rupees because she can't buy upgrades anyways, because that's the one negative with
I couldn't get anything. I was like...
play. But...
felt so used.
The rupees are shared among party members, and it does save all of the items and rupees you get on your console, so if you ever bought this game, you're not just starting over. So I think that's so cool, the download play that you can play, and we don't have to have a copy for everyone.
At the very end, when I was done playing, it prompts you to it has an option for you to go to the eShop immediately.
Oh yeah.
Did you enjoy playing this game?
Yeah, where some people would see that as annoying and nagging, but no, I mean,
I liked it.
They just let you play. They would let you play through that whole game for free, just without buying upgrades.
It just seems like a thoughtful, hey, did you enjoy your?
You can still get it, yeah. So I think it's great.
In the world of all that clicky stuff that makes you want to buy stuff, I still enjoy.
It's pretty harmless, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I would recommend, if you are interested in Triforce Heroes for trying it out, or if I'm thinking about getting you a copy, if we're really going to do it and you want to upgrade, you can get it on the eShop. But right now, at least on the eShop, it's still priced at $39.99. Where most stores that I've seen have really heavily discounted this game. I know Best Buy selling it for $13 nowadays. So easy pickup in a store if you can find it. Super cheap. Amazing deal at that price, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But maybe don't pay $39.99 digitally unless you're just super sold on only having digital games, because you can get such a better deal on a physical copy of this game right now. So I would throw that out there.
I want the physical copy because I like those pajamas that you were wearing.
The lucky pajamas. They do look good. I know. I thought you were like, I don't care about any of that, but I was like,
I know. I do. Usually, I don't. I don't care about swag and stuff in a game. I usually don't care about the appearance. That's one thing that I don't typically spend a lot of time on.
Mm-hmm. But
unless you
have some of those outfits.
Oh, but those pajamas.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty harmless as a $12 purchase. I will probably end up getting you one too, and then we'll keep going through it, because I think we're gonna. Something, like I said, we'll continue to talk about in coming weeks, because I think we're going to keep jumping into it. We had a ton of fun sitting around playing this for a little bit. Easy to do whenever James comes over or we're all hanging out. Something we'll continue to do and then talk about once he finally decides to join us again on the podcast, which I know we thought it was this week, but it sounded like next week now. We had a busy weekend.
We used and abused him yesterday, moving furniture.
Take advantage of him helping us to move some furniture, and by the time we were done, we ended up pushing the podcast back a day. But
yes, we did. We pushed the recording back a day. To play Triforce Heroes with him.
Yeah,
so,
and so maybe worth it there.
For us, a good trade.
And it gave us our biggest topic today. Really was the reviews for Sonic Mania. It didn't come out till today, so it worked out. As part of that was planned. So
you won't feel any difference. It'll come out the same day.
Yeah, I'm gonna just have to do a little bit quicker editing, but no problems. With that, though, I want to say thank you for joining us and listening in this week.
Yes, thank you as always.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have
join
fun.
us again next week. Give us a like, a subscribe on YouTube if you would. That would do so much. We'd appreciate that fully. And we will see you, and hopefully you'll join us again next week.